businesses, and industries to the Snapfinger Creek Advanced Wastewater Treatment Facility. The project is a part of the county's $2.4 billion capital improvement plan to improve its water and wastewater infrastructure. Once completed, the Shoal Creek Trunk Sewer Improvement Project will provide much-needed capacity to accommodate future growth and enhance environmental resilience of the county's infrastructure. This project begins at the Snapfinger Creek Advanced Wastewater Treatment Facility and extends north through unincorporated DeKalb County and into the incorporated areas of Decatur and Avondale Estates. The project will improve and upgrade approximately 13.3 miles of sanitary sewer system ranging from 12-inch to 72-inch diameter. The primary components include replacing and upgrading approximately 13 miles of gravity sewer ranging in diameters from 12 to 72 inches, crossing underneath the Interstate 20 and Interstate 285 connection of numerous existing residents and businesses, and removing aged infrastructure from adjacent stream banks. The project is divided into 3 sections. Section 1, Snapfinger Creek Advanced Wastewater Treatment Facility to Flat Shoals Parkway. Section 2, Flat Shoals Parkway to Interstate 20. And Section 3, Interstate 20 to South Columbia Drive. The project will impact Commission Districts 2, 3, 4, and Super Districts 6 and 7. The construction of the project is expected to begin in 2025 and will last approximately 3 years. The Shoal Creek Trunk Sewer Improvement Project has been identified by the county as an important capital improvement project to foster consent decree compliance, as well as provide additional conveyance capacity to the Snapfinger Advanced Wastewater Treatment Facility. For more information on this and other projects in your community, visit DeKalbWatershed.com. The Shoal Creek Trunk Sewer Improvement Project is a critical component of DeKalb County's sewer collection infrastructure and conveys sewage from local residents, businesses, and industries to the Snapfinger Creek Advanced Wastewater Treatment Facility. The project is a part of the county's $2.4 billion capital improvement plan to improve its water and wastewater infrastructure. Once completed, the Shoal Creek Trunk Sewer Improvement Project will provide much-needed capacity to accommodate future growth and enhance environmental resilience of the county's infrastructure. This project begins at the Snapfinger Creek Advanced Wastewater Treatment Facility and extends north through unincorporated DeKalb County and into the incorporated areas of Decatur and Avondale Estates. The project will improve and upgrade approximately 13.3 miles of sanitary sewer system ranging from 12-inch to 72-inch diameter. The primary components include replacing and upgrading approximately 13 miles of gravity sewer ranging in diameters from 12 to 72 inches, crossing underneath the Interstate 20 and Interstate 285 connection of numerous existing residents and businesses, and removing aged infrastructure from adjacent stream banks. The project is divided into 3 sections. Section 1, Snapfinger Creek Advanced Wastewater Treatment Facility to Flat Shoals Parkway. Section 2, Flat Shoals Parkway to Interstate 20. And Section 3, Interstate 20 to South Columbia Drive. The project will impact Commission Districts 2, 3, 4, and Super Districts 6 and 7. The construction of the project is expected to be 3 years. The Shoal Creek Trunk Sewer Improvement Project has been identified by the county as an important capital improvement project to foster consent decree compliance, as well as provide additional conveyance capacity to the Snapfinger Advanced Wastewater Treatment Facility. For more information on this and other projects in your community, visit DeKalbWatershed.com. The Shoal Creek Trunk Sewer Improvement Project is a critical component of DeKalb County's sewer collection infrastructure and conveys sewage from local residents, businesses, and industries to the Snapfinger Creek Advanced Wastewater Treatment Facility. The project is a part of the county's $2.4 billion capital improvement plan to improve its water and wastewater infrastructure. Once completed, the Shoal Creek Trunk Sewer Improvement Project will provide much-needed capacity to accommodate future growth and enhance environmental resilience of the county's infrastructure. This project begins at the Snapfinger Creek Advanced Wastewater Treatment Facility and extends north through unincorporated DeKalb County and into the incorporated areas of Decatur and Avondale Estates. The project will improve and upgrade approximately 13.3 miles of sanitary sewer system ranging from 12-inch to 72-inch diameter. The primary components include replacing and upgrading approximately 13 miles of gravity sewer ranging in diameters from 12 to 72 inches, crossing underneath the Interstate 20 and Interstate 285 connection of numerous existing residents and businesses, and removing aged infrastructure from adjacent stream banks. The project is divided into three sections. Section 1, Snapfinger Creek Advanced Wastewater Treatment Facility to Flat Shoals Parkway. Section 2, Flat Shoals Parkway to Interstate 20. And Section 3, Interstate 20 to South Columbia Drive. The project will impact Commission Districts 2, 3, 4, and Super Districts 6 and 7. The construction of the project is expected to begin in 2025 and will last approximately 3 years. The Shoal Creek Trunk Sewer Improvement Project has been identified by the county as an important capital improvement project to foster consent decree compliance as well as provide additional The Shoal Creek Trunk Sewer Improvement Project is a critical component of DeKalb County's sewer collection infrastructure and conveys sewage from local residents, businesses, and industries to the Snapfinger Creek Advanced Wastewater Treatment Facility. The project is a part of the county's $2.4 billion capital improvement plan to improve its water and wastewater infrastructure. Once completed, the Shoal Creek Trunk Sewer Improvement Project will provide much-needed capacity to accommodate future growth and enhance environmental resilience of the county's infrastructure. This project begins at the Snapfinger Creek Advanced Wastewater Treatment Facility and extends north through unincorporated DeKalb County and into the incorporated areas of Decatur and Avondale Estates. The project will improve and upgrade approximately 13.3 miles of sanitary sewer system ranging from 12-inch to 72-inch diameter. The primary components include replacing and upgrading approximately 13 miles of gravity sewer ranging in diameters from 12 to 72 inches, crossing underneath the Interstate 20 and Interstate 285 connection of numerous existing residents and businesses, and removing aged infrastructure from adjacent stream banks. The project is divided into three sections. Section 1, Snapfinger Creek Advanced Wastewater Treatment Facility to Flat Shoals Parkway. Section 2, Flat Shoals Parkway to Interstate 20. And Section 3, Interstate 20 to South Columbia Drive. The project will impact Commission Districts 2, 3, 4, and Super Districts 6 and 7. The construction of the project is expected to begin in 2025 and will last approximately
questions and discuss the necessary steps to ensure that DeKalb County residents have clean, safe, reliable, and high quality drinking water for generations to come. I know that when it comes to discussing rates and rate adjustments, it is not an easy conversation, but we also know that at this point the cost of inaction in DeKalb County is simply not an option. If we do not act now, we are at risk of our system failing and higher costs in the future, as well as setbacks that will affect our communities. This is not just about upgrading pipes and treating plants. It's about protecting public health, and it's also about supporting economic development in our community. So, with that said, tonight I have brought with me an entire panel of experts who will walk you through a variety of segments that are associated with the potential water rate increase. And I will start with Attorney Maria Hauser. Maria Hauser, she is the Director of Environmental Compliance, our Capital Improvement Plan, and throughout the evening you may hear us refer to it as the CIP. Capital Improvement Plan, as well as the consent decree. Many of you may be aware that DeKalb County in 2011, due to a series of SSOs, sanitary sewer overflows, that occurred primarily in South DeKalb, we went under consent decree to expand, replace, and enlarge our infrastructure. And I do want to say clearly that in certain parts of DeKalb, we have not enhanced or remediated our infrastructure for over 60 years. There was no capital improvement plan. So Maria Hauser serves as the first Director of Environmental Compliance for DeKalb County, as well as the Director of CIP. She leads the implementation of the $1.5 billion sanitary sewer system improvement plan that is associated with the consent decree. She has undergraduate and graduate degrees in mechanical engineering from Georgia Tech, as well as a master's in business administration from the University of West Georgia. She's also an attorney who practiced environmental and natural resource law prior to joining DeKalb County. The next panel member that we have, I'm very excited to have Jacob Vallow. Jacob is a new part of my executive team. You are looking at DeKalb County's first Chief Economic Development Officer. Jacob will be charged with primarily helping me revitalize and grow Central and South DeKalb. He is a resident of DeKalb County, and he has over 25 years of both public and private sector experience in moving infrastructure, community development, and economic development projects. He spent nearly 19 years in commercial real estate development, investment, and capital raising roles. He served as the Assistant General Manager at MARTA, where he oversaw the transit-oriented development, public-private partnerships, real estate, and public art activity. Prior to joining the county, he was Chief Investment Officer of a family office real estate portfolio, which was focused on the revitalization of key transit-oriented assets throughout downtown Atlanta. Next, we have with us Robert Raoul, and he is with Arcadis, Vice President, with over 25 years of industry experience, including providing financial management consulting services to water, wastewater, solid water, and stormwater systems. And Mr. Raoul has experience across the United States, and he provides advisory services to some of the nation's largest utilities. Mr. Raoul is the Vice President with Arcadis and leads the firm's Financial Services Division for North America. Next, we have Ms. Diane McNabb. Diane is the Chief Financial Officer for DeKalb County, Georgia, and she has been with us since 2016. With over 45 years experience in government finance, accounting, and reporting. Prior to joining DeKalb, she worked for PFM Financial Advisors and held leadership roles in public finance, securities, and public accounting, including with KPMG. She is a retired CPA and has served on the National Finance Committees, presented at industry conferences, and was recognized for her excellence in governmental accounting education. She holds a bachelor's degree in accounting from the University of Alabama, and for the third night in a row, War Eagle. Okay, there's a place for us all. And last but not least, so we can get the show on the road, we have Mr. Zach Williams. And Zachary Williams is the Chief Operating Officer of DeKalb County. In this role, he oversees the daily operations of DeKalb and ensures service delivery. He responds to both the CEO's office as well as the Board of Commissioners as outlined within the Organization Act of DeKalb County. He has had a distinguished career in public service and held leadership roles in counties and municipalities across the Southeast. Prior to joining DeKalb, he served as a county manager for Fulton County, where he led capital improvement programs and implemented nationally recognized health equity initiatives. His past roles include Assistant County Administrator in Broward County, Florida, and Assistant City Manager in Coral Gables, Florida. He is an accredited manager by the California State University at Long Beach. Now, before we go into the presentation, I do want to take the time to acknowledge my fellow commissioners. Commend you. You have been with me for 3 nights in a row. So I appreciate you wanting to have a full spectrum of the opinion on the rate increase across DeKalb. Is there any other commissioner that I have overlooked? Okay. Well, let me say that you currently sit in District 3, where Commissioner Nicole Messiah is your newly elected commissioner. And of course, I was your Super District 7 commissioner. And you do have a newly elected Super District 7. That would be Commissioner Ladina Bolton. And of course, I live in Super 7, and I'm Lorraine Cochran Johnson. Now, at this time, we will begin. We will begin with a video. And thank you for joining us, Clarence. Come on in. We will begin with a video that will help contextualize the conversation we're about to have this evening. So if we can begin the video, please.
We've reached a pivotal moment for DeKalb County. Our water and sewage flows through a time-worn system that faces growing challenges.
You are seeing aging infrastructure that we as elected officials must deal with because, water supply is imperative for economic development and growth.
Since 2017, DeKalb has invested $1.25 billion rehabilitating our aging water and sewer infrastructure. This includes fixing more than 165 sewer spill sites, replacing 90 miles of water pipes, and optimizing our systems to save $164 million through cost reductions and increased revenues. At the heart of our drinking water system is the Scott Candler Water Treatment Plant, a facility first built in the 1940s. Parts of this critical facility haven't been updated in decades. In fact, sections of the plant are still original to its construction. Temporary shutdowns due to power outages and control failures have highlighted multiple points of vulnerability, risks we can no longer afford to ignore. Our water reaches the community through large transmission mains, many of which have been in place for more than 70 years and supply critical locations such as hospitals, Emory University, and the CDC. Additionally, no new transmission mains have been installed leaving the water treatment plant since 1974, further highlighting the need for system upgrades. In our neighborhoods, smaller water pipes are also showing their age. Approximately 9 miles of these pipes are older than a century and nearly 200 miles have been in place for more than 75 years. It's no surprise that for the last decade, the county has averaged about 950 water main breaks a year, roughly 3 a day. But the challenges don't end there. DeKalb's sewer system spans more than 2,500 miles, some of it dating back to 1910. A third of these pipes need rehabilitation. When it rains, the stormwater infiltrates cracked, deteriorating pipes, overwhelming the system, causing spills that impact our communities and environment. Without sustained investments in DeKalb's water and sewer systems, the problems will only get worse. Inflation and rising construction costs, including an 80% increase in ductile iron pipe prices, have significantly escalated expenses for critical infrastructure projects. Addressing these issues requires funding, and that means a rate increase to implement repairs that will ensure reliable services for generations to come. For the past decade, DeKalb County has not implemented rate increases like other utilities, which routinely adjust rates to cover costs. Comparable jurisdictions made annual 4.2% adjustments, leading to a 50% increase over 10 years. Had DeKalb County done the same, future rate increases would be just 3%. Because these adjustments were not made, raising rates now is necessary to invest in critical infrastructure. Recognizing that not all residents can afford higher rates, DeKalb has developed assistance programs to provide support while continuing efforts to maximize efficiency and secure external funding. Together, we can secure a safe and reliable water and sewer system for our future. It's time to act.
Thank you all so much. Hopefully that sets the context for the conversation we're about to have. At this time, we will have our first presentation by Attorney Maria Hauser.
Thank you, CEO Cochran-Johnson. I really appreciate everyone being here this afternoon. Welcome. I am here to share about some of the challenges that we are experiencing with our water and wastewater system. Our wastewater system is also known as our sewer system, so I may use those terms interchangeably. We're also going to look at our drinking water system. Right now, both of our systems are at a critical decision point. As the video demonstrated, we have a deteriorating, aging, neglecting system both on the water and on the wastewater or sewer side. And I'm going to get into these pictures here. How many people remember the 2018 Beaufort Highway break? And that's this picture closest here. Does anyone remember that? Yeah, we have some hands coming up. This was so impactful to the community because you could not even get across the street because you had so much water running across the street. And I see some heads nodding in the audience. And that impacted the businesses in that area significantly. The middle picture, that's just an example of the critical needs at our only water treatment plant. Those blue poles you see there in front of the concrete barrier, their purpose is to hold up the walls of that electrical building, which has, oh yes, which has controls over our only water treatment plant. The last picture on the far end shows what a sewer spill looks like. And we've had several sewage spills in our communities because our system is over capacity and allows stormwater through cracks in our sewer pipes to enter in, especially during rainfalls. And when you're out of capacity, the sewage has to go somewhere. And it pops up through manholes throughout the county. So these are just some of the critical issues I'm going to discuss as we talk through this evening. And this is why we need additional investment in the water and sewer system. So let's start in the beginning. Let's go back in time when DeKalb was only comprised of only 90,000 people. And we have grown 9 times since then. So around the 1940s, we've grown until over 750,000 people in DeKalb. As DeKalb has grown, what has happened with our infrastructure? Well, let's start with our water treatment plant. As said in the video, and I think CEO Cochran Johnson mentioned, it was built in the early 1940s, as well as the Department of Watershed was also established around that time. Other assets, believe it or not, we have both drinking water and sewer pipes that are over 100 years old. The first drinking water pipes went in 1909, and we still have 5 miles of pipe that are from 1915 or earlier. We also have sewer pipes that are over 100 years old. But in general, 40% of our water and sewer pipes and system will be over 70 years old by 2040. The next key point when we're going back in time, our transmission mains, and let me make sure everybody understands what a transmission main is. If you consider the water treatment plant, which treats water and makes it into potable or drinking water available for us, they have to get to our communities by huge transmission pipes that are 30-inch, 42 inches, 48 inches in size. Those are what we call our transmission mains because they function as the arteries of the water system. And the last one we have built in DeKalb County was in 1974. That's half a century ago. Look at the chart. We have had a growth in population beyond that red dot, beyond that time frame when the last transmission main was built. So that's going backwards. Let's talk about what challenges we're currently facing. And I'm going to start with our raw water intake structure. And you may not have heard about that before, but this is where we actually get our water, and it's from the Chattahoochee River. We have huge pumps, which pumps water from the river into reservoirs, and then we treat that water so that it's drinkable, it's potable, it's usable in our everyday life. In that structure that was built, especially our water treatment plant, as CEO Cochran Johnson already mentioned, and you heard on the video, we only have one source of water and one treatment plant in DeKalb County. That is unlike any other utility in the metro area. So for us to continue maintaining safe, clean, reliable drinking water, we need to invest in upgrading that plant. Portions of that plant did experience an upgrade in 2007. Portions of that plant did not. And the 1942 parts that have existed for decades upon decades still remain right now at the plant. And we have to do something about it because we cannot continue to rely on an asset or piece of equipment from 1942, which is what we have in place right now. We're doing all of this really so that when you turn on the tap, clean drinking water comes out. Okay, I want to move from the plant, which is the heart of the drinking water system. And as I mentioned before, those huge pipes, which are transmission mains, let's talk about the condition of those transmission mains. They are undersized. Because we had the last transmission main installed half a century ago, and we've continued to grow as a community, they are now undersized. And this is specifically significant for South DeKalb because the water treatment plant is to the north, and we have to provide water all the way down to the south. There are challenges in doing that. When you have an undersized pipe, to get enough water to South DeKalb, we have to apply additional pressure. Right now, the system is at a critical point in that the public side, so not your homes, because each home is supposed to be equipped with a pressure-reducing valve, so not the pipes in your homes or heading to your homes from the media, but the pipes that are in the public side that DeKalb takes care of. they are now experiencing pressures between 150 and 200 pounds per square inch. In your home, your pressures run between 40 and 60 pounds per square inch. So we are over-pressurizing the system just to get water to DeKalb County. And I want to emphasize this. We need sufficient flows for fire protection, for use in South DeKalb. So we're having to over-pressurize the system to get all of that water down here to South DeKalb. High pressure, one of the impacts of having to apply that high pressure to pipes that are over 100 years old, or even pipes more recently installed in the 1970s, it's that it causes more breaks. If you apply more pressure, things are going to break a lot quicker. So you have that, you know, it's almost like a spiral downwards with both situations. When you have cast iron pipes that are that old experience clogging. And the technical term is tuberculation. And you could see that top picture up front. This is where there is a reaction and you have just remnants of the pipe building up over time, clogging the pipe, making it even more difficult to get flows to our customers. Their age, we've already established how long pipes have been placed into the system, and it needs to be replaced. The other bit is catastrophic failures. In the 1970s, a lot of the manufacturer of precast concrete pipes were doing experimentation, is the best way I could characterize it. And we are seeing catastrophic breaks, not just in DeKalb County, but really throughout the U.S. So those pipes, even though they are much younger than our 1941 steel pipe, which, if y'all remember, we had a break about 2 weeks ago on Claremont Road. We had to issue a boil water advisory. That pipe was 1941. But even that pipe, that 1941 pipe, our 1953 pipes are performing better than our precast concrete 1970, 71, 72 pipes, just because of how things were manufactured in the U.S. at that juncture. So we are dealing, when they fail catastrophically, and you see a picture there of it. All right, so we've talked about the drinking water plant. We've talked about the huge transmission mains. Now let's get into our community. These are the smaller pipes that when in your homes, they run along your roads in your subdivision, they run to our shopping centers, a small mom and pop restaurants, etc. What's happening to those pipes? Well, this chart here shows the amount of breaks per year. We did peak in 2018 and 19 with 1,200 breaks per year. Right now, last year we experienced about 963. So just under 3 breaks per day. It's what we are experiencing on our water system, those small pipes in our community. We have to address that. Right now we are proposing to invest about $71 million per year. And even with that amount of investment, it's still going to take us more than 20 years to fix the aging and deteriorating infrastructure within our communities. I'm going to shift gears now from our drinking water system, and let's talk about our wastewater or sewer system. So when we use drinking water, we utilize it to cook, to take showers, to wash our clothes, to do dishwashing. All of that water that we utilize goes down the drain and enters our wastewater or sewer system. Well, that system is in need of repair, and that's critically important because it impacts human health and the environment, because we want that used water to get from your home or your business all the way to the treatment plant to be treated. We don't want it to spill in our communities at all. So we were placed, as CEO Cochran Johnson mentioned, under a consent decree. And a consent decree is really an agreement with the federal agency, which is the Environmental Protection Agency, The state agency, which is the Environmental Protection Division, and DeKalb County came together and had an agreement and said, okay, DeKalb County must take certain steps to correct these deficiencies. And it really laid out a pattern of how DeKalb County is supposed to operate, how we maintain the system, how we invest in the system. And that has been ongoing. We have had some reporting failures thus far, and we do have some upcoming compliance deadlines this year that we need to meet to help reduce the risk of spills going forward. And additional funding, about $106 million, is needed under the consent decree this year. Some of the improvements, and when you were coming in today, around the right-hand side, you saw a lot of poster boards up there, and that's one of the projects that we are endeavoring to do, and it's going to come down mainly to help South DeKalb reduce the risk of spills in our community. It's going to cross under I-20, 285, and 85. It's a huge project, and it involves putting in pipe that's bigger than me, 72 inches in diameter, and it will impact about 700 properties. So this is one solution to ensuring that we deal with a lot of the spill areas that are occurring right now in South DeKalb. After we get through a lot of these emergencies that I've already mentioned, whether it's taking care of our transmission mains, reducing the risk of spills, making sure that our water treatment plant does not have 1942 era assets in it, after we get through all of that, just to maintain and meet industry standard, we have to do additional investment. So industry standard says if you imagine that your assets, so your pipes or your manholes or your valves, will last for 100 years. And that's quite an assumption because, as you can imagine, we don't think all of our assets would last 100 years. But if you imagine that, you have to replace 1% of your assets each year. DeKalb County has 6,000 miles of water and wastewater or sewer pipes. So let me explain how much 6,000 miles are. We could start from here and start heading to San Francisco. We get to San Francisco, we turn around and we come back. That's how much 6,000 miles are. It's huge. And because of that, we need to invest just to replace 1% of our system. We need to invest about $210 million per year to keep up with industry standard. So everything I am pointing to requires a significant investment to keep our drinking water system safe and reliable, and to ensure that we're protecting your health and the health of the environment in our community by preventing or reducing the risk of spills with all of this investment. Now, there are benefits to this investment, and my colleague Jacob is going to come and tell you about those benefits.
Great. Thank you, Maria. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming this evening. Appreciate you all taking the time to do so. I'm happy to be here with you. As Madam CEO indicated, I am a DeKalb citizen, and happy and pleased that Madam CEO has the courage to take on an issue like this, and it is a very challenging discussion for sure, but you'll notice that everyone is using the word investment instead of spending, and that's for a reason. It's because we expect not only public and social benefits from this investment, but also economic development benefits for the county. So as we had indicated before, we feel like we are we are fiduciaries, right, on behalf of capital, and we have the responsibility to provide safe, clean, reliable, and affordable water to constituents. I'm going to advance the slides here, forgive me. Even with our proposed 10 by 10 rate structure, many residents will never pay more than 1.50% of their income for water, and this is based on 1,000 gallons usage per month per household member. Without action now, we risk falling behind on our community development efforts to enhance the quality of life of DeKalb residents. And without action now, we risk falling behind on economic development efforts, which increase tax revenue to the county and create jobs and raise the standard of living of our citizens and stakeholders. It is Madam CEO's vision, which we're all working towards, to be the #1 county for quality of life and to do business. And we must take this action to set us on the right path to get here. So, some important benefits of making this investment. Community development, the capacity to grow our community assets, schools, healthcare, affordable housing, senior centers, and other assets in our community. DeKalb will also have the financing in place to meet our modified consent decree obligations, which will be discussed further in other presentations. We'll also increase our water reserves by 60% and ensure that when the tap turns on, the water will flow. And so in terms of long-term resiliency, our citizens will have that in the county. We'll also improve the quality of life through reduced sanitary sewer spills in our waterways, which you saw images of earlier. We'll preserve our residential and commercial property values. And this is an important point. If we don't make these investments in the water and sewer system, others won't be interested in coming into the county, either to invest or buy homes or to build businesses, and that'll have a negative effect on all of us. DeKalb will have capacity for new economic development for more jobs, and this particular capital investment program, or CIP program, alone will create 6,427 jobs, both temporary during construction as well as long-term jobs over a 10-year period. It will also generate more revenue to reinvest back into the county. And as our CFO will talk about further, we'll also protect our investment-grade credit rating. We recently had a study performed by a group called KBA Advisors. They do a lot of work on economic development studies for municipalities throughout and governments throughout the state of Georgia. And they calculated that the cost of inaction over a 10-year period is 1.2% decline in GDP growth, which equates to $1.16 billion. Finally, I wanted to share with you how tied together our employers are, who also happen to be our largest customers or ratepayers in the system. And forgive me, the font is rather small, but these are healthcare as well as social assistance entities that employ many of our citizens. These are professional, scientific, and technical services, businesses, retail, trade, transportation, warehouse, as well as food service and accommodation. With that, I conclude my remarks and turn it over to Robert Riel to speak a little bit how to finance this. Thank you.
So my name is Robert Riel, and thank you. I want to give you a little bit about my background, but I'm a consultant. I help water and sewer utilities around the country, many of the big ones. I've been doing this for 25 years, and I work for a big global engineering and construction firm, and I run their financial services group for North America. But one of the, if not the biggest challenge facing water and sewer utilities is how are we going to pay for all of this, right? Infrastructure is at a critical point, not just in DeKalb County, but this is a nationwide issue. And I'm going to show you some studies that have been done to show you what's going on around the country. I'm going to show you how other utilities around the country are paying for their infrastructure upgrades. And I'm going to show you how DeKalb County plans to pay for their upgrades, which is going to require additional revenue to support that funding plan. So this is a figure from the American Society of Civil Engineers. They undertook a study to determine how much infrastructure is needed over the next 20 years. And they concluded that the infrastructure needs of the water and sewer industry is $3.3 trillion. Currently, $2.2 trillion of that infrastructure investment need is unfunded, right? The industry doesn't know how they're going to pay for that. We've thrown around a lot of big numbers this evening. We often hear about millions, billions, and trillions. And I like to take these big numbers and put them in a perspective, a visual, where I can understand them. This is what $1 billion looks like. DeKalb County is currently facing 4 times this amount over the next 10 years to fix the breaks and the leaks and the different things that you've heard about this evening. This is what $1 trillion looks like, right? As a nation, we're facing somewhere over 3 times this amount that needs to be invested in our water and our wastewater infrastructure. So the American Water Works Association, they publish a report every year. It's called the State of the Water Industry Report. And one of the things that they share with us are what are the top challenges facing the water and sewer industry. Of the 15 top challenges, 5 of these challenges are related to money, right? How are we going to pay for our critical infrastructure? Things like financing for capital improvements, financial stability, water and wastewater rate increases, right? To be able to fix the breaks and the leaks and make the upgrades and continue to provide quality water service, investment has to be made, and utilities have to have the money to be able to make these investments. So how are other utilities around the country doing this? This is information from the same American Water Works Association report, and it's showing how other utilities are paying for water and sewer system investment. I'm going to start with number 2, right? These are the most common ways, right? Number 2 is grants. I will tell you that grant money is not alone going to pay for the improvements that are needed. I can also tell you the county has secured grants. They've secured numerous federal grants. There's state revolving loan funds. These are low-interest loans. The county has secured numerous loans from the state of Georgia. Bonds. The county's issued 2 bonds that they've used this money to invest in the water and sewer infrastructure. You have no more bonding capacity. Without additional revenue from rate increases, the county cannot issue any more bonds to continue fixing the system. Reserves. The reserves have been used. They're at a critical point. Operational savings. The county has saved over $164 million through operational savings. And the last are federal loans. It's a WIFIA program. The county has issued just over $500 million in these low-interest loans and is looking at pursuing a 3rd loan. But the one thing, right, the one thing that the county has not done is raise water and sewer rates. And you cannot continue to fund the infrastructure improvements that are needed without raising rates and generating additional revenue for the system. So this chart shows the different funding sources that the county is planning to use to fund infrastructure improvements over the next 10 years. It's many of the things that we just saw. It's grants. There's a little bit of sales tax revenue. It's low-interest state and federal loans. And it's largely the issuance of bonds. But to be able to support this funding plan, the county has to have additional revenue. Even low-interest loans have to be repaid. Even to secure low-interest loans, much less bonds, you have to show revenue to be able to obtain these loans to invest in the system. And this is my final slide. But we've conducted a comparison of similar utilities, many of them here in the Atlanta metro area, but also water and sewer utilities from around the country. And one of the things that we've looked at is how have these other water and sewer utilities raised their rates over the past 10 years. And on average, these utilities have raised their water and sewer rates by 4.2% every single year. Cumulatively, this is a 50% rate increase over the last 10 years. Over the last 10 years, DeKalb County has raised their rates 1 time. It was a 6% rate increase in 2022. Had DeKalb County raised rates over the last 10 years at 4.2% a year each year, you'd currently be looking at about 3% a year rate increases going forward. So with that, I'll hand my presentation over to the county CFO. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert, and good evening. Happy to be here. What I'm going to talk about is what these rate revenues are used for and what kind of what this is going to accomplish for us. All of our rates, we have to first pay for operations. So for every dollar we get in, the first part of that dollar goes to operate the system. The next part of that dollar goes to pay our outstanding debt. Then the third part of that dollar goes for our capital improvement needs. Now, we have several things that we have to accomplish. We have contracts outstanding with our bond buyers, the people who buy our bonds, the investors, and our lenders. They have certain requirements for us. You know, how much money we need to make over and above the expenses we have, et cetera. Then we have to maintain our financial stability so that when you turn that tap on, you're actually getting water out. And in order to do that, we have metrics that we maintain, that we choose to utilize in order to make sure we meet this. We have minimum cash balances, for example, so that we know we can pay our bills every month. And this type of financial stability, these metrics, helps us get through rainy seasons, revenue drops. In the droughts, revenue drops again. You'd think it would go up, but then we've got the water restrictions, and that drops our revenue. So we have to have stability in that system. We also have to maintain our bond ratings. Our bond ratings are our credit score. And as we all know, the better your credit is, the lower the interest rate's going to be. We have a very good credit rating at AA2. We don't want to lose that. If we lose our financial stability, we get downgraded, and our interest cost goes back up again. Then, finally, as I said, we use the last part of every one of those dollars to fund our capital program. And just like you need a down payment to buy a home, we need to make a down payment, a cash portion of all of our capital costs. Right now, here in DeKalb, and as one of Robert's slides shows, we're investing 16% cash in our improvements. The rest of it is primarily financed with a little grant money, little sales tax money that goes with it. So with the proposed 10 by 10, we will accomplish these things. With 10 by 10, not only will we make the capital improvements that need to be made, but we will also help to maintain that credit rating and to meet all of the requirements of our bondholders and our investors. Now, I mentioned what we have been doing. Well, the one thing that we haven't been doing is raising rates. And as you can see, over here on the left are the rate increases that we've had for a little over 20 years. You can see 19, then we skip 2 years. 22% rate increase, skip 2 years. Then we have 4 years of 16, 3 years of 11, and then we go for 10 years with 6% rate increase. Now, I hope this doesn't make you think our operating costs didn't go up every year, because every year our operating costs did go up. And we've gotten through this by utilizing our money that we get from rates, as well as working really hard to maximize our grants and to cut costs. You know, another thing that's going to help us cut costs is Maria talked about the leaky pipes. Well, you know what? Our clean water leaks out of those pipes, too. That's water we've produced that nobody pays for because it just leaks out of the pipes. We're going to solve that problem. We're going to not have to produce as much water in order to get you the same water before, because we're not going to lose that water. We call that water loss. Now, to show you financially, these rate increases that are pictured at the bottom, the 10% a year, they're going to fund that capital program for $4 billion over the next 10 years. So, moving forward, we're going to achieve the Water First designation this year. That's going to lower our interest rate on state loans by 1%. We're also going to maximize our borrowing with the Georgia Environmental Finance Authority, those low-interest loans, as well as the low-interest loans, federal loans from WIFIA. We're going to continue to reduce our water loss, and we're also going to get new leak detection technology so that we can find those leaks faster and resolve them. Then we're going to continue our grant applications. We were very fortunate to receive a recent grant of $40 million. So we have people combing the federal websites every day looking for new grants that we can apply for. And we're going to continue to address past due accounts and make sure that everybody pays their bill. Because if somebody doesn't pay their bill, the rest of us has to pay more. So we're going to be trying to make sure that we collect the money that's due. And continue to work on our customer service and our disputes. Back in 2016, when I first got here, we had some water billing issues, and we were getting 2,000 disputes a month of people saying, we think our bill is wrong. Now we get an average of 69 disputes a month with people questioning their bill. So hopefully we've improved that customer service, and we'll be doing that moving forward as well. So now I'm going to turn it over to Zach, who's going to talk about our customer assistance programs.
Thank you, Diane. My name is Zach Williams. I'm your Chief Operating Officer. And I have the honor and privilege to discuss some of our customer affordability considerations. And I think it's critical to note that as we have evaluated over the past number of months what our needs are in terms of the capital program itself, in terms of compliance with the consent decree, Maria has done an outstanding job of articulating the need relative to the aging pipe, the aging infrastructure. What has not been lost on us is that everyone will not have the same ability to pay. And so we have introduced a series of programs that will address that very issue. The first program under the DeKalb Cares Customer Assistance Programs is a discount program. And that discount program will work essentially like this. Those persons who are defined as low income by Housing and Urban Development Guidelines, federal guidelines, which essentially for a family of 4 would be a household making less than $55,000. They would receive a 10% discount on their rates. A family that is considered very low income, which would be a family of 4 with a household income of approximately $33,000, would receive a 25% discount. We're planning to implement these because we recognize that it will be challenging, and for some to make the payment, to be able to keep up, if you will. And so we're implementing a series of programs, another of which is the DeKalb, the Assistance Program. The Customer Assistance Fund will be established through our ratepayers voluntarily contributing, and this is something that many utilities have, where you can contribute into a pot, if you will, and then persons who reach or have economic hardships, it's not income contingent, but an economic hardship, medical bills or what have you, you'd be able to apply to this fund and get assistance in paying your bill. So this would be established within the utility itself to assist those who have hardships. Extended payments. We are looking to extend payments under certain circumstances. If we've come to a conclusion, everyone agrees that it is a legitimate bill, it's gone through dispute process, and it's just significant. Ratepayers will have up to 7 years to pay for those bills. And so it's extending the payment over time so as to not have people debating, do I pay my water bill or do I pay my mortgage, my rent, my car payment, or something else. We were more than willing to work with people. Next is the amnesty program. And this is a unique program in that what it will do is it will allow income-eligible residents, if they are current, if they stay current with their bill for a period of time, we're looking at probably a year, they would be eligible to apply for an amnesty to disregard previous bills. But the key is they have to be income eligible and they have to stay current. The next is the private residential assistance. Something we've learned over the years, and if we can go back, if any of you will recall, about 10 years ago, when we had significant issues, not only with the water meters themselves, but with water bills and the whole system, quite frankly. The more we dug into what the issues were, we found a lot of issues that were on our side. We addressed those as it relates to replacing meters, upgrading the billing system. But we found that time and again, persons found themselves with difficulty paying because they had leaks. They had issues in their property that in many instances they simply couldn't afford to pay. And so to waive a bill, to reduce a bill, didn't solve the problem. So what we've done for the past number of years, and we will continue to do, is allocate funds to assist income-eligible residents in addressing leaks on their property. And so that's a critical issue, and by doing that, it will then allow them to get caught up and not fall behind. The final thing is the Office of the Customer Advocate. The customer advocate is also something that, quite frankly, has come out of looking backwards, looking at where we've come from when we had not only challenges with our reputation, we had challenges, quite frankly, in some instances in being objective when we were addressing disputes or bills. I think we've come a long way, but an Office of a Customer Advocate will actually create an ombudsman, an advocate, whose sole responsibility will be to work with customers to resolve their issues. And this will be someone outside of the finance department, outside of our utility operations, but they would be an independent advocate, and that would be their charge. Our commitment to the community. We've carefully evaluated the investment opportunity. We're confident that we will be able to address the needs and benefit our residents for generations to come. So what we're talking about today, and it has been articulated very well in terms of what the needs are. Chief Vallow talked about the investment opportunity. We're convinced that we have the ability to address these needs if we have the 10 by 10. And we will be able to commit to ensuring that the work gets done. We have robust methods in place to ensure responsible management of the funds. We're committed to ensuring a transparent process. The CEO, Cochran Johnson, has made it crystal clear that transparency will be our motto. It will be how we operate. Today is an excellent example of exactly that. Where we're sharing with you exactly what we know, exactly where we are, and exactly where we want to go. We have an experienced team. We have the available resources that position us to successfully deliver the program. You've heard from a number of team members today, but rest assured, behind each of the persons on the panel, there are hundreds of people, engineers, project managers, program managers, finance people, legal assistants, the whole team, contractors who are ready, willing, and able to execute and deliver on this capital improvement program. And again, we pledge to maintain transparency by providing regular detailed progress reports. We want to be an open book. We want to have a shared conversation in getting the work done, allowing not only the citizens at all times to know where we are, but most importantly to know where we're going. One of the ways we will do that is by posting information online. And here you see the website where presentations and all information will be available so that we can all track along as to what is being accomplished. Thank you, Madam CEO. I'd like to turn it over to you.
Let me say thank you to the panel members that have come out this evening, and we are right on time. We have 30 minutes left, and we have questions that are headed over. And at this time, I also want to acknowledge that we have had additional commissioners join us this evening. Let's start with Commissioner Marita Davis Johnson, District 5, DeKalb County. We also have Super District 7 Commissioner, Dr. Ladina Bolton, that has joined us this evening. And I also wish to acknowledge Director David Hayes, who is in charge of watershed management. So this evening, we've done our best to give you, through the video, the framework for what we're dealing with. And I want to say to you all that 40% of our pipes are 70 years or older. Our infrastructure in DeKalb County has truly reached a critical state, and we risk limiting our ability to grow in certain parts of DeKalb. Due to the distance from our Scott Candler water treatment plant to South DeKalb, as we've emphasized here this evening, it takes 3 times the pressure normally required to service South DeKalb. We only have one source of clean, potable drinking water, and that is Scott Candler plant. And the repairs that are needed are critical. I want to be very clear that currently, if the plant were to go down, it is estimated that we have between 3 to 5 hours of clean water. If that should happen, many of us sitting in this room would be out of water before we knew the problem existed. So, with that being said, we also deal with water mains that are insufficient in terms of the transfer of water. 1974 is the last time we installed water mains. And since that time, many of you sitting here understand and you see the growth that we've had in our community. So that is why we're here this evening. So I will start with the first question. What is open records for service records? An open records request is if you ask for a document in DeKalb County, you can go to our website, DeKalbCountyGA.gov. Just go up to the top right corner using the search tool and type in open records. And it will allow you to request any public document that DeKalb County has. Absolutely. Yes. Well, no, you ask a blanket question. There are some communications that we have within DeKalb County that are attorney-client privilege that would be barred, but every document that is associated with the consent decree and the water sewer is available to you. Mm-hmm. Honestly, if you just simply reach out to my office, most of them are very easy. So if you're wanting to receive the original consent decree from 2011, I'm happy to transfer that. If you'd like the modified consent decree that occurred in 2021, I'm happy to send that along as well. Well, one thing I want to do is be decent and in order. I will be here once we're done. You can speak with me. I'm not sure who Attorney Garrett is, but we will take care of that conversation immediately following. Understood. And the next question that we have is, what grants and loans have been applied for to cover the cost? Currently in DeKalb County, we have WIFIA, Water Infrastructure Finance Investment Act. Those are federal loans. We also have GEFA, Georgia Environmental Finance Act loans. Those are the lowest interest loans that you can receive. In addition, when you increase the water rate, that would allow us to bond against the expected revenue to do work. I want to be very clear. All of us are living in real time. At any given day now, since our new administration has come into the White House, when we wake up, you can watch television to determine what happens that day. A week ago, all federal funding was halted. And when that happened, that interfered with our WIFIA loans, because those are federal loans. So I want you to just be mindful as we sit here this evening that because we are under a consent decree, we don't have an option of not doing the work, whether or not we receive federal monies or state. We are still under Department of Justice, EPA, and EPD requirement that we complete the consent decree work. Why didn't previous administrations address the infrastructure? Let me say, as it relates to infrastructure, I think there's a few things here, and particularly, when it comes to water. I joined the Board of Commissioners in 2019. I can remember in 2017 waking up in the morning as I'm preparing my daughter for school and seeing the issues with water in DeKalb County. As we acknowledge here today, at one point we had over 2,000 disputes per month. Currently in DeKalb County, we're down to 70. That is progress. And when, in 2017, I would say that CEO Thurmond came into DeKalb County, we had a lot of work to do. I want to stand here and also acknowledge that DeKalb County was sold faulty water meters for which we have settled a lawsuit. So it has taken us a decade to clean up and be where we are today. So when we talk about what has and has not been done as it relates to infrastructure, I also, last night we had a conversation because in 1985, the enabling legislation that is associated with SPLOST, the Special Purpose Local Option Sales Tax, was enacted. However, DeKalb County did not get a SPLOST program until 2017. Over a 6-year period, during our first cycle, it generated over $700 million. So I want to be clear, for almost 30 years, we did not bring in the revenue that some of our surrounding counties did. Gwinnett and Cobb. Their SPLOST programs began decades before ours. And government is like your home in many ways. You can only work with the revenue you generate. So even when it comes to addressing this water and infrastructure, we have to work with what we generate and what we are able to acquire from both state and federal funds. So I hope that answers your question. I can only speak for where we are now and how we move forward. And the reason we're here this evening is because our technical experts, both Arcadis as well as AECOM, has indicated that based upon the amount of work to be complete, we are in need of $257 million on an annual basis, and if passed, that would require a 10 by 10 years at 10%. The presentation discusses the 10-year program. Does DeKalb have a 3-year plan at this time? Let me say to you that the solutions that we require based upon the consent decree, they extend beyond a 3-year plan. So we are attempting to address the issue that we face as a governing authority. How many more increases will be needed beyond the 10-year proposal? Honestly, at this time, I'm not prepared to stand here and speak on beyond the 10 years. What I want to see is us remediate the conditions that we currently face within the 10-year cycle so that we can be honorable to the 2037 request to build the in-basin storage that is needed here in South DeKalb. Can the state help us fund these projects? I think we've already answered that. They have, and we will continue to seek funding from the state. Can we build an additional treatment plant facility to adequately address the needs of South DeKalb? I want to say that it will become necessary to build an additional plant. As we stand here this evening and acknowledge to you, we have only one clean water supply. But I want to be also clear with you that that will require a large investment as well. And at this point, our goal is to remediate Scott Candler, as well as meet the linear footage requirements for the installation of pipe that is necessary under our consent decree so that we are able to stop the sanitary sewer overflow and the loss of water that we experience. Next question. This is actually, okay. When roads in South DeKalb are going to be when roads is South DeKalb are going to be repaved or resurfaced. Columbia Drive from Glenwood to Flat Shoals, Panola, and Wesley Chapel. Let me say that in DeKalb County, the resurfacing of roads is a science. It's not a request. Since 2017, when we passed our SPLOST program on an annual basis, all 2,200 miles of highway is graded. Once a grade is assessed, the higher the grade, the worse the condition of the road. As a general rule, we go to that list each year, and we are able, on average, to resurface somewhere between 100 and 120 miles of highway. We pull from that list. So if you want to know if your road will be resurfaced, go to www.dekalbcountyga.gov. And as soon as you get there, you're going to see what we call Joe Penny. If you click Joe Penny, it will carry you over to our SPLOST website. You can then use the hourglass, enter your street address, and it will tell you if your road is in queue to be resurfaced. You'll also notice it's 3 colors. Everything in green has already been resurfaced, and you can click on it. It'll give you the street name. Everything in yellow has already been approved, and red is approved, but the work hasn't begun. Yellow, we're in progress. So if you go to our website, you can answer that question, and you'll never have to ask us if your road is in queue for that cycle to be resurfaced. Are cities in DeKalb required to participate in funding the county's infrastructure problems? Water and sewer, absolutely. This is a countywide problem. Have you understood the argued aging population of DeKalb? Do you understand? Okay, and I honestly cannot read this one. I'm going to set it aside. Will this water infrastructure affect economic development for South DeKalb? That's a good question, and actually we brought a slide because I wanted this conversation to be based in empirical data. And let me say, because we're under a consent decree, we have a CAP program. And I'm going to allow Maria Hauser, if you will come online so that I don't do all the talking here tonight, I'm going to let you explain how the CAP program works as we increase water sewer capacity.
Absolutely. And we could share a slide also regarding the development in DeKalb County because of the Capacity Assurance Program, or we call it CAP for short. Under the consent decree, initially, we could not continue development, mainly in South DeKalb County, because we did not have appropriate capacity in our sewer system. That meant if somebody wanted to connect their home or their business, school, church, government building to the sanitary sewer system, we were already experiencing spills in the community. Hence, it would not make sense to allow another building to come on, which is generating additional sewage to a situation where you are already spilling sewage in the community. So in 2021, there was an agreement between DeKalb County and EPA and EPD where we will institute what's called a capacity assurance program. As DeKalb County performed work in the community by fixing sewer pipes, preventing rainwater from entering, taking up capacity in the sewer pipes through cracks, roots of trees, etc., then they would allow us to take a small portion of that and allow a business or a home to be able to be built and connect to our system. So it was acknowledging the progress that the DeKalb was making by fixing the system and allowing development to occur on an incremental basis that was really foundational. Now, if we could see in the slide that, and I guess I should be standing. Well, actually, I could just use the here. So we have had an opportunity under that consent decree program to have development approved, not just in South DeKalb, but all over DeKalb County. On the next slide, you'll see the investment that we've done on the clicker. There we go. In DeKalb, if we go back one. Yes, in South DeKalb. So as you can imagine, when I said we could not allow anyone to connect to the system for a number of years. So from 2018 to 2022, really in South DeKalb, we were not seeing development, period. Since February of 2022, when we were able to utilize the credit system by fixing the system, taking credit for that, and applying it, we've been able to have a total of 486 entities approved to connect to the DeKalb County sewer system. And that includes churches, restaurants, government buildings, warehouse, commercial entities, and importantly, homes and new residential units. Almost 3,500 residential units are now able to come online. We've had a couple of schools as well, retirement, nursing homes, so everything that helps make our community well and our community growth. So we've had a lot of successes doing that. And thank you for sharing those slides.
Thank you. This next question asks, why would we invest in upgrades to Scott Candler as opposed to simply building a new plant? I want you, Attorney Hauser, to give the estimated cost that's associated with the remediation of the conditions at Scott Candler, and then I'd like for you to share if we were to start anew, what type of revenue we're looking at.
So right now at the Scott Candler water treatment plant, we need about $300 million of investment to bring it out from that 1940s era assets such that it becomes reliable. We're actually expanding the amount of water. So when CEO Cochran Johnson mentioned if anything happens to the plant, we only have between 3 and 5 hours, maybe, there we're actually going to be expanding the capacity by 60%, so we have more hours. So that's $300 million. The cost of a new plant will be over $1 billion to build.
So that is why we're focusing on the remediation of Scott Candler. I want to be clear that technical experts and the individuals that are sitting here, they have the knowledge. We are not here. This is sort of like marriage because we've taken lightly the condition and not thought through what's necessary to remediate it. Now, also this card asks, please explain the 10 by 10. Again, the technical experts, both Arcadis and AECOM has suggested that based upon the current consent decree and the costs that are associated with the build-out of the in-basin storage, as well as the completion of the annual linear square feet of pipe that's required, as well as our sewage capacity expansion, that a 10-year, 10% rate increase is what would be needed to adequately complete all projects. So when we say 10 by 10, that is what we're referring to. Why do we continue to allow, if I don't know, I can't read this word, balding if we are over capacity, building. Why do we continue to allow building if we are over capacity? We do not. We just expressed between 2018 and 2022, we could not allow new development because there was no water sewer capacity. So now perhaps you understand what you see. And we also want to be clear that in areas where there are challenges with water supply, we cannot allow hookups. So as we build capacity, that is what allows us to bring new projects online in certain areas of DeKalb. So no, we are not allowing hookups in areas where there's already sensitivity for water. Does this project address the pipes in the older schools in South DeKalb? Increased exposure to lead and metal byproducts secondary to breakdown. I want to be clear, we're talking about public utilities, not that is within schools. Okay? Let's see what we have here. What is the schedule? And then I see the word order, places they will start construction. Okay, perhaps Attorney Hauser understands that question.
So to learn about what projects are going to be going on in our area, we try to provide information on our website. So if you received the handout and on the back page, it has that www address. We provide a lot of information regarding the projects. Before we start any projects, we actually engage with our commissioners. If it's in a city, we also engage our city members. And we try to have community meetings, both in person, we've done some online, and we normally pass out door hangers as well as letters, and then you're going to see posters as you're coming into the community that's being impacted. So we don't start projects without having a communication strategy. So right now, we actually, our communications chief just approved the starting of a community activity on Monday. So we will be doing online community engagement on Monday as an example.
The next question, I understand the need to improve the water system, but why must this include our seniors? Increase apartment rates and give our seniors a break. We did share with you this evening our CARES, DeKalb CARES program. We are not here to cause adversity or hardship on any DeKalb County resident. If you are experiencing hardship with your utilities, reach out to our office. And for all seniors, our DeKalb CARES program is available if this is a matter of income sensitivity. We have set aside $1 million to cover and support individuals who may need assistance with their utilities. Is there a way to stitch the story together of what the 2022 6% increase covered or didn't? Additionally, how do you ensure that combination of loans, grants, rate increase funds, etc., are being accounted for properly? Let's begin with the 6% increase that was covered, and I will allow, I believe that rate increase was presented in around November or October of 2024, and I will allow Mr. Raoul to speak to that.
Absolutely. So that rate increase occurred in 2022. It was brought forward early in the year. It was adopted and implemented in August of 2022, and that 6% increase was just enough to allow for the issuance of a bond, which occurred in December of 2022, and it allowed these projects to continue from that point up until today.
And as it relates to how will we be accountable, there are three things in particular that I believe is necessary here as we move forward. First is an external consultant that would be self-imposed by DeKalb County, somewhat of a special master, a company that we will retain to completely oversee all projects that are associated with infrastructure as well as the consent decree. Also, I believe that it's important for us to retain a company that specializes in water, sewer, and infrastructure funding procurement, so that as we move forward, there is an individual, an entity specifically charged with ensuring that we have the revenue necessary, even if that means beyond the 10 years, making recommendations for rate increases. Because I want to point out to you again that during a 10-year period, DeKalb County had one water rate increase. When across Metro Atlanta, average rate increases for water had been 4.2%. We have not increased our water utility rate at the same rate as the metro region or on the national level. Also, I believe that it's important for us to establish a consent decree oversight board, which would be a group of citizens that are chosen by the governing authority of DeKalb County Board of Commissioners as well as myself, so that there is firm transparency. So on a quarterly, monthly, whatever basis we choose, you have full access and to the work that we're doing and the documents that are associated with it. How much money from the existing county coffers will be applied to the upgrades? Is there a reason the total of percentages on the how water utilities are addressing funding slide exceeds 100%? Does the overage represent a surplus? Is DeKalb being, I don't know, if financially penalized for missing deadline? Okay, let's go to the first. How much money from the existing county coffers will be applied to the upgrades? I want to say to you all that for years, when we've not had water rate increases, DeKalb County has covered the cost of water utilities. And at this time, who would like to speak to that? Mr. Raul? Worrell? Yes.
I'm sorry, I was going to speak to the second part of that question on slide 20, but I'd be happy to take a shot at the use of other conferences. So, the water and sewer utility, as is common practice throughout the country, this is an enterprise fund, which means that this system is established such that the revenue that it generates is what is used to support the system. So it's never been the intent to use other sources of revenue from the county, right? The intent is that the users of the system and then the rates themselves support the water and sewer utility in order to not take away from other important programs or needs, right? Police and schools and so forth.
And now I think you were going to...
I was going to address slide 20, right? So it was a great question, right, on why the percentages don't add up to 100. So, again, this information is from the American Water Works Association. Part of their report it's a survey of their membership, right? This is utility professionals from throughout the country. And so those percentages are the percentage of respondents that are using each of these different funding sources. So, for example, rate increases. 67%, right, of utilities or respondents to the survey are using rate increases in order to fund their system improvements.
But it doesn't add up to 100 because it uses, you may use several different sources.
Right.
Okay? So 66% of the respondents are using rate increases, but let me see, 59% are using grants. So you've got people that are using grants and they're using rates.
Just like the county, yes.
just like the county is. So DeKalb would appear and be in the percentage for several of those line items. And so that's why it won't add up to 100.
Okay. The next question says, why can't you all wait until the pipes burst before you fix it? I can't pay any more money on water. I want to be very clear that it costs more to be responsive than to be proactive. That's how we got here. We have demonstrated that we are averaging, as of last year, 963 water main breaks per year and an average of 3 per day. You only hear about the 10-inch or larger ones, but this happens all over DeKalb. So we're sensitive and we're here to help you, but we can't wait until the pipe bursts for us to fix it because there's too much liability associated with it. This question is, who is responsible for the maintenance of detention and retention ponds? The resident of the property, which it is attached, an HOA, I can tell you now, probably not them, or DeKalb County. It depends on your address. If you have a question about a retention pond, please feel free to email my office. Give us your address. We will get out roads and drainage to take a look, and we will follow up with you, and based on their assessment, let you know whether it's a DeKalb County problem or if it's your problem. Okay? And let me say with that, it is 7:32, and I want to be respectful of everyone here. I know that everyone's worked a full day. I've seen all of you all day long. And I want to say to everyone that has come out this evening, I thank you. What we will do, because many of these may have already been answered. I saw some duplicates, but we will, on the website that we have created, that when you came in the packet, if you will go there and continue to check over the next few days, we will answer each and every question, because I think it's very important for us to have a frequently asked question sheet on that website, and your questions will be answered there. Now, in the meantime, let me say thank you to the panel who honestly, yes, give them a round of applause, who has worked very quickly for us to put together the presentation that you see here this evening. And again, let me say to you that, you know, as a member of the governing authority and as the DeKalb County CEO, the care for community is why we're here. We never want to talk about rate increases, but it's very important that we're transparent with you as to where we are. So thank you so much. Thank you to the commissioners that have come out this evening, community members, community leaders, and we are here to help. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out, but otherwise, go in peace.